Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning. Welcome. Welcome to Connect Africa 2 hour. Me and Kwame Gonza, where we analyze what's happening in the continent. Once again, Kwame Gonza has joined us. Sorry about that small technical problem. Here with us, Kwame Gonza, to tell us, to spill the tea, what's happening in Kenya. And he will give us a Pan African perspective as usual. Welcome, Kwame.
Thank you, Mahlet. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we do hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Greetings to everyone and greetings to our viewers. We appreciate that you are here to support the channel. And the channel is going to be broadcasting every week, twice every week or thrice, but at least twice every week. So we encourage you to be present on the channel every evening around 7, even though today we came late due to some technical challenges. But exactly 7 GMT, we will always be available on the channel. So tell your friends, tell your Pan-African friends, tell your African friends, all of them to be present on the channel on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Those days at 7 p.m. GMT, which is West African time. Central African time, it will always be 8 p.m. When we go to South African time, it will always be 9 p.m. And East Africa, it will always be 10 p.m. So you can note that time if it is African time, and if you are in Europe and you are in America and across the Atlantic, also you can change that time to your local time. You can change 7 p.m. GMT to your local time, 7 p.m. GMT to your local time. You can change it to your local time. So we are going to discuss about Kenya. We want to look at the happenings in Kenya. All of you have heard the news that has been going around that the protesters in Kenya were able to put a lot of pressure on the Kenyan government until the president himself came out in the news and conceded. He said that he has conceded. I concede. But it was all because of the pressure. Now, are there lessons which we can learn from this, from the continental scale for the African continent? What led to all this? What led to all these problems? We have seen President Ruto has recently come from the United States, where he went and he had a triumphant entry after he was invited by Joe Biden. Why is it that Joe Biden, they were not able to save him from all these problems? His friends in the United States and all across the world, he's been flying all across the world and spending a lot of money, and the Kenyan people and the African people in Kenya have been watching him and warning him about his excessive expenditure. So are there lessons for us to learn as the African continent from this kind of a situation that is happening in Kenya, where the protesters were able to achieve great victory, even though at a very high price?
Yeah, Kwame, we lost you for a second.
Yes, so sorry. What I was asking is that is there lessons for us to learn, even though the price which was paid is really huge, that a lot of our people died during these demonstrations that were shot by the police, by the Kenyan police. But there is lessons to learn for us, and that's what we want to look at, as in terms of organizing the African continent on a Pan-African scale. So, Mahlet, back to you, and I just
Yeah.
want to once again appreciate and welcome everyone who is part of this channel and is supporting the
I
channel.
like
Thank you so
how you
much.
take care of our audiences. You make it easy for them. You tell them what is their local time. I'm sure they want to have you here every day, giving them analysis. I would love to, and that is the ultimate goal as well. But no, thank you for really simplifying it for them, and then telling them what are the topics today, what we are going to raise with regards to this. So basically, I'm sure you have been, informed enough what's happening in Kenya, but we bring you today what will be that impact, as Kwame said, what kind of message it sends to here to our African leaders, to our people, what kind of message it sent to the West, to the world, and as he said, why they're not saving them, saving Ruto, whom he has been, serving them, the West. So, without further ado, let's go now. In your view, tell us, briefly what's happening in Kenya. How do you see it? How do you translate it? Briefly tell us from your perspective.
Yeah, thank you, Mahlet. I'll be quick, and I hope our audiences can hear me very well.
Yeah.
We regret the interruptions in the network is because we are in different parts of the world. As you know, a network can be a problem in some places where we are located. So I think it is important. I will just touch on this very quickly. It is important for us to, if we are looking at the situation in Kenya, to look at it from where it started from before it reached here, because it is common for people to just look at situations and comment on them. Yet these situations have been built up over a period of time. If you look at the President Ruto, he promised a lot to the people when he was campaigning to come for presidency. He presented himself as a leader or a president of the poor, and he used the word hustler nation. Is the president of the hustler nation, so he's the president of the hustlers. So he painted a picture which said that the president who is in the state house in Kenya right now is the president of the poor, is the president of the common people. And many of us were tempted to believe him. Many Kenyans were tempted to believe him, and they voted for him. And even on a Pan-African scale, when we saw what he started doing on a Pan-African scale after he came to power, he said he's fighting for the African continent. We saw his speeches at the Pan-African Parliament. Even on this channel, we came out and asked a question and did a commentary on him and asked, is this the leader that the African continent has been looking for? By the fact that, because of the fact that he's talking about the de-dollarization and Africa standing on its own. He's talking about the Pan-African payment and settlement system. He's talking about Africa trading with each other. He's talking about Africa having a greater voice on the international stage. So he did not only convince the Kenyans, but he also convinced the Pan-Africanists on the Pan-African scale, and got that huge following. When you go back to Kenya, he had promised that he's going to bring down the price of food. But what happened later is that the president, when he took power, he removed the subsidies which were there on food. He removed the subsidies on fuel. He removed a couple of subsidies. And whenever you remove subsidies, it means that you are pressing the poor more. And what we are learning lately is that he's pressing more and removing these subsidies and increasing even the taxes on the poor so that he can collect money to pay back loans, whether it is the IMF, whether it is the loans from China. But even before he came, the loans from China were being paid by President Uhuru, but people were not suffering this much, and the subsidies were still there. So the people felt that he's taking them for granted, and he's utilizing. He has overutilized his chances, and the people have become impatient because he removed the subsidies, and then he's increasing taxes on them. And all because of what? Because he wants to collect money, increase and collect money and give to the IMF. And what is disturbing, what is really disturbing, which he has decided to do at the end, as we are going to look at his speech today, which he gave about 6 hours ago, he decided to today he decided to say that they will reduce, their salaries, they will reduce their travels, they will reduce their expenditure as the president and as the executive. His ministers, he's talking about his ministers. But somebody may ask a question: why did he not do these things before? When he's talking about, because people should live by example. He spoke about, of course, the executive and the parliament itself. They should reduce their salaries, and this is actually prevalent all over the African continent, that the local people, the ordinary person, the ordinary citizen is overtaxed. Yet these people who get all the money, the members of parliament, the minister, the president, they never tax themselves. They never reduce their salaries to show that they are together with the common person who is not earning much and who is being affected by inflation, and is buying the food items from the market. So this is where these demonstrations started from, and actually they started peacefully. And the president and his cabinet thought that they are a joke. They thought that these demonstrations were a joke. They thought that it was just young people, so they would send in the police a couple of times, and the young people will surrender and give in. But they never gave in, even amidst all the threats that were meted out on them, which were released on them. They never gave in. So what we are seeing is that they were consistent. The young people were consistent, and that's why they are calling them the Gen Zs. The Gen Zs, of course, those are the people who were born after 1996, coming forward, and they are facing huge unemployment, which is very difficult. The country has become very difficult, and yet the man is increasing salaries. So they felt that they have had enough. So it was yesterday that they took it to another level. They escalated it, and they said they will enter the parliament, because these are the people who are making these laws. They passed the bill in parliament, and they sent it to the president to sign it. So President Ruto was able to get the number of members of parliament to be able to pass it in parliament, and then to have the bill in his office so he can sign it. So the people, they saw the bill passed in parliament, and they said they cannot take it anymore. They have to respond. So they broke into the parliament, and to the point that they almost burnt down the parliament. So I think that this is a huge message, is a very strong message to the president himself, and the ruling class, of course, in the country. Because normally these privileged people in the middle class and the ruling class, they normally take people for granted. When people are out there and they are looking at them, and they are not saying anything about what they're doing. They are increasing their salary. They are driving these huge cars, which are imported. They don't care about the ordinary person. But when people take it a step further to the example of what happened in Kenya, I think that this sends a very strong message in these rulers, as we saw them today, that they looked very scared, when they were listening, when they were standing behind the President Ruto, and he's making his conceding speech. So they were looking scared. They were really looking scared that if these people had gotten them, the people who were demonstrating had gotten them, they would have beat them or even killed some of them. So I think that is once in a while in these countries of Africa, is important to send them that message so that they can understand that we are not people who are here to joke with. And you cannot just increase, taxes which are not going to affect you, and increase them on us, because you are not going to feel it. Then you think that it is normal, to continue oppressing the poor while you live in expensive and luxurious, mansions. So that is what basically that is happening in Kenya today, and what later led us to what we are seeing in the country today.
Thank you very much, Kwame, for sharing your view on that. Indeed, that power, all what happened belongs to the people. They brought it, with paying also, including with their lives. Now, what is strange is that, President Ruto has been flying around and definitely made sure that he is the Trojan horse of the West. He's not ashamed of it anymore. He just keeps adding on top of it. And actually, the African leaders, after his visit to Biden's administration or to the US, and accepting that, to be a major non-NATO ally, the rumors are is that many of the African leaders are disappointed by him and also the region. So we don't expect anything from the continent, but the West, who has served, who really he served them very well, did not say anything on this one. Like, okay, a headline running, a rule of law must be respected, or you have to listen to the like. They're just by the corner, except echoing what is going on, just like any other influencer, running with the headline, the Kenya protest or the finance bill. Where are they? Like, or are they thinking twice now because of his move?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that yeah, they are definitely thinking twice, uh, and I know that the president knows that he made a wrong move, that he overpressed, his chances. He overused his chances, because he thought sometimes they think that people are not going to respond, that you're going to
Mhm.
intimidate them with the military and the police here and there, and then they are going to give in. So I think that there is that realization that this was a mistake, this was a wrong move that we made, and definitely that is why you see that they decided to step back. The president himself said that the Kenyan people have spoken. But when you look at when you listen to him yesterday, actually yesterday when I listened to his speech, where he came out after the people had attacked
Kwame, sorry, your
the
sound
parliament
went
and this.
low. We don't want to lose anything. The sound just you unplugged something.
Can you hear me, Malit?
We hear you, but it's lower than what it was before.
Okay, so let me do some changes here. Just give me a second. Let me do some changes.
Okay.
Okay, 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 okay.
Are you there, Kwame?
Yes, Malit, yeah. Can you hear me, Malit?
Much better. Yeah, and it's like before now. Good.
Is better, right?
Yeah. No, actually, it's the same where it was originally, so that is good.
Okay, okay. So what I was saying is that
Why the
it
West is not
is
saving him? Yeah.
absolutely evident that President Ruto has realized that it was a mistake what he did.
Yeah, technical problems. We need to bear with this kind of things, but I mean, we don't let it to be an obstacle or something. Kwame will be back in a second, I'm sure. As you know, the internet back home is not that good, so we really have to deal with this kind of things sometimes. But it's okay. Um, Let me go ahead and thank you, all of you, for being here. Teresa was here also before. Thanks again for tuning in, for rooting. Greta Woodson, hello, welcome. Imhotep Heru. Yeah, you all said we have lost lives. Indeed, it's very, very sad. I think that president didn't want that to escalate. That's why I think he quickly, kind of made a U-turn and said, okay, let me just agree with this. That's where it comes from. But also they have seen the power of the people. Wow, whoa, thank you very much for your donation. Condolences to our brothers and sisters. Really, thank you. It means a lot. It will help us. Thank you, Wowo, for your regular, support here for Connect Africa. Yes.
Yes, Mahlet, what I was saying to the audience, sorry for the technical situation. What I was saying is that it is evident that President Ruto himself has realized that this was a huge mistake. What he made, he has overutilized his chances, and it is not painting a very good picture of him since he has been in power for just slightly above 1 year. As a president, this situation is not really looking good. At this point, he should have been putting the country together. Building and consolidating his reputation as a president. But he's just been in there for just about a year, and things are really not looking good as we speak. So I think that he has realized that this is a huge mistake. What he did was a huge mistake. Therefore, that's why he decided to retreat. He decided to withdraw the finance bill because people are really not happy with it. And like I said, he came out to say that the people have spoken, the Kenyan people have spoken. But when you look at the speech which he gave yesterday, in that speech, he was calling the protesters hooligans and, people who are bringing chaos. That is what he was using. That's the language he was using. But
Arrogant.
today, the same. Yeah, so it was arrogant. He was just coming out with a lot of arrogance, and including his cabinet. But today he came out, and then the same people yesterday he called, hooligans and people who are bringing chaos and stuff like that. Today he called them Kenyans, that they have spoken. So it shows you that there's a realization that he has made a mistake. And of course, it is not good to underestimate him as someone who is very tricky. He's also a very cunning person and very tricky person. And as you know, some of the demagogic politicians who say one thing and they do a different thing. And of course, this I don't mean to say all politicians. Some of the politicians are really good politicians. So I don't buy into the narrative which they say that all politicians are bad. I believe that there is good politicians and there is bad politicians. And we have had those, many of them on our continent itself, that we have had those presidents who have really struggled to build up the continent. So those are the good
Kwame, what
politicians,
will be
I
the
believe.
specific action for the West, like people like Biden, the European Union, whom they have hosted him during the Ukraine peace summit, and the like? Which specific action made them to think twice? Is it the protests? They have seen it in a lot of African countries in which their leaders are, errand boy basically to the West, or Kenya is the last country that they expected this will happen. What really made them, okay, like, we are not going to say anything. We are not going to do anything. We should not show support for him or whatever.
Mahlet, can you come back again with that question? I didn't hear you very well because of that network.
So far you have told us why why Ruto, even with his tone of speech, has changed from last night to today. What he realized, what it meant, the power of the people, he understood it. But as for the West, what will be that specific thing that made them to think? Is it that the fact that it happened in Kenya? Did they thought, okay, this is a country we invested a lot, and like they thought Kenya is the last country for this to happen? Why they did not save him? Basically, that's my question. Did you hear me? Wow. Internet is not on our side today. Yeah, I agree, Greta Woodson. I think Biden is thinking of the election. Yeah, so he might not want bad press. Yeah, because if you see the way they were treating him, like, everybody, like every Western country is Kenya, this, the one time it is major non-NATO allies, the other time it is the peacemaker, who in that Ukraine peace summit, the speech that he made in uh, in Switzerland. Yeah, his party, I understand. In the whole US administration, we can say, I think. Uh, but the way that they opted for silence for this thing, not showing him anything, uh, except that their mainstream media just would run the same headline like any other. He did not, the mainstream media did not dare to say, or like to call these people, those who want to take power, this or that. So, like, why? What made them to think twice? That's my question. But Kwame has this internet problem. Greta, he barely knows his name. Oh, Biden. Yeah. Oh my God. You nailed it on that one. That man is, I really don't know what to say, especially after I saw what happened in Italy. But if Kwame is coming back, let me just put the video on. Let me go on your comments. Biden does not remember what he ate or for breakfast, let alone Rute's. True, I agree. Imhotep says Ruto told Kenyans to leave Kenya if they don't like his policies. Oh my God, I have a video clip of this. You can't trust a puppet leader like Ruto. Finance bill was the worst idea on Kenyans. Yes, definitely. The IMF has been visiting that place so repeatedly, and it's actually after that, after he took power, when we start to question this man is not pan-African. The IMF was there, and then immediately there was the fuel subsidies was removed, and price on food also has increased. So those people, that's what they're That's why they are there, to force leaders to pay by increasing price on the poor people. That's how they give you a guarantee to give you a loan. If you make sure that you will add a price, you will remove subsidies. And he did that. He did not think about the poor people, although his election campaign was about the poor. He said even his economy policy when he was campaigning was a bottom-up approach. That's why many people vote for him, and he was using this his chicken selling experience, his own personal story, to the people, and it was appealing to them. So that's how they voted him. And with all his lip service, we outside of Kenya also fall for him, like thinking he's a Pan-African leader. But it was not for long. He talked about de-dollarization, but you see him taking more loan in dollars. He talked about the African Continental Free Trade Area. You see him, instead of trading with African countries, you see him trading with the European Union, making agreement. He talked one thing, he does another thing. He said on 2024 visa-free Kenya, and then Kenya started to even charge those African countries who were allowed to go to Kenya without visa, and Ethiopia was one of them, actually. So you just find him, he does something, he talks something. He is a typical example of who does not walk the talk. That is, Ruto is the equivalent of that. So, and we were even wondering how are the Kenyans are keeping up with him. And there is enough for everything. But I have to give it to Kenya, or I have to give it to Ruto as well. Sometimes when you are in other African countries, you have this opportunity to look at things comparing with your own or with other African countries. So far, 6 people are dead. That's very sad. But imagine this happens also to other African, because Kenyans are already there in terms of criticizing each other. There, compared to others, there is a media freedom. Okay, they really can't say anything against their president or the ruling party. It's not that somebody will come and jail you. So there is a certain level of freedom of movement. Now that is going this action now, okay, enough is enough. If you are not doing anything, then there's no way, the people are saying that we are not gonna continue to buy a piece of bread with 16% tax added on it. And then, getting treatment is also getting hard, and all those things, and the fuel subsidies being removed. So they went on the street, like Bob Marley said, a hungry person is an angry man. They will take you down. The way you were popular, and the way they gave you the vote, they made sure that they can bring you down. And that's exactly what he understood. And this man is just 20 months. They're not even saying let's give him time, this and that. Like he's not even halfway to his in his first term, let's put it that way. So we have to, some things that are just slipped under the rug without covered by the big picture. This is one of it, that there is a certain level of freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and demonstration is also freedom of speech, freedom of expression. So I really want to give that credit to Kenya. So that includes the people, their media, the leader including, okay? I mean, yes, 6 people, that's not going to be paid in any price, but still it could have been worse in other African countries. If you agree with me, let me know in the comment section, in the chat section, what are you going to say about that. But Kwame is here. Kwame, without further ado, I hope you heard my question. I was saying, what is that specific, why the West did not save him? Some of them, they were saying here, Biden is more worried about his election, or what about, why not the West, why not Europe? Tell us just very briefly, because we have spent enough time on the second question.
Okay, thank you, Mahlet. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm having challenges with the network. It has interrupted. The network has really interrupted our beautiful program, but I hope you can hear me.
We see you, we hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so what we are seeing also is that if the West has not said anything, these are just signs of the contradictions within the system. So according to the Western world, when they are talking about democracy, when you vote, ideally, is supposed to make you happy. You're supposed, when you vote a government, that government is supposed to ideally deliver the goods to you as the people who have voted. So this is the democratic system which they present to us, and then even in some cases they force it on people militarily. The United States comes and forces it on people, like how we saw in Iraq, in Libya, and other countries. Syria. They want to force it on you. So this system, when it is not working now, like we have seen, the people just elected Ruto, or supposedly other people, of course, said he was not elected. There's a way he rigged the elections. But other people, of course, say the West helped him to come to power. But either way, he's just been there for a year. So if he is facing all these challenges, then he shows the contradictions in the system. He shows that the system is not working. And of course, for them, whenever you have a problem, even if they have used you, they can turn against you anytime. To give you an example, we can look at Mobutu Seseko when he was brutalizing the people in the Democratic Republic of Congo and stealing from the country. He was a friend of the Reagan administration in the United States. He was a big friend of the Reagan administration. Okay, so when we talk about President Saddam Hussein, he was a big friend of the United States. When they were trying to attack, Iran. So you can see that they give you support when it is convenient, but when you get in trouble yourself, they will not say anything. So that is why they are not saying anything, because they don't have what to say. They did not even condemn his government, because they are now pampering him. They have been pampering him and moving with him, and trying to show as if he's very important. So if it was a different president, if it was Uganda or some other country, they would come out and say, oh, the people have a right to demonstrate. They would issue those kind of statements, those hypocritical statements, which they normally issue, and say the people have a right to demonstrate, the freedom of speech, freedom of demonstration. But because Ruto is their boy, is their errand boy, then they can't say anything to him. They are not saying anything to him. So I think this, of course, is symptomatic of the hypocrisy which they have, the contradictions in their system, their so-called democratic system, which they are imposing on Africa, and its limits, of course, in the in what it can deliver. So the promises, the ideal, the idealism is different from reality. So this is what we are seeing as being demonstrated. Therefore, they don't, they will not respond. In that case, they will not respond anything. They will not say anything.
Okay, no, we got it. Thank you. And it's always to bring an example from a next African country, or it's for that matter, it can be in the world, so that we understand it better. So I like that example of Mobutu Sese Seko. Now let's move on. And when the demonstration started, it was reject the finance bill 2024, and then it went to Ruto must go. And then yesterday we have seen, breaking the parliament. Now, do you think this is the main causes, as they say, as it started really to reject the finance bill project, or him being more and more obvious way being a servant of the West. Do you think that triggered it? You are muted.
Of course, the people have their grievances. The majority of the people who vote the opposition, Raila Odinga, presidential candidate Raila Odinga, it could be that some of them are also embedded, within there. And I see that President Ruto would have had a chance if he was doing the right thing also on a Pan-African scale. But now, even the Kenyans themselves, they see that the president has abandoned the Pan-African cause, and he has turned around. So many of the people, they don't understand even what he's doing. So you can see that even though these other grievances, these original grievances are there, whereby they are saying, okay, we don't want these taxes, we don't want these austerity measures, these neoliberal austerity measures that you are imposing on our country. But the fact that also he has been disgracing, the Kenyans on the African stage, and even on the international stage, whereby he's not consistent in his move. One day he's a Pan-Africanist, then the other day he's a servant of neoliberalism, is sending and neocolonialism, and he's helping them to go and send troops to Haiti. So these also, I think that played a part, that the people are angry at this kind of behavior, and he has not yet realized this. He thinks that maybe it is just about the high cost of living in the country.
Yeah, that's, I think, what. Yeah. Now, what is then now the way forward, and what should we expect next from Kenya? He has made this speech hours before, where he said in his own words he has conceded. But what should we expect from Kenya? Has this neoliberal system, which President Ruto himself was promoting around in the world, has become one, to elect and regret for Africa? You are muted, Kwame.
Yeah, I think that the system itself is the political scientist Eric Lee who put it right, and he said that democracy, it needs some introspection. It needs some self-criticism, because the West has been pushing this system on everyone and forcing it on everyone, and yet it is not delivering. I mean, look at our continent. For the last 60 years, we've been forced. This thing has been forced down our throat, and people have been forced to elect. I mean, the people we have been forced to elect, they turn out to be those who have helped the West actually to sustain itself on top of us. It's like the people who have been elected on our African continent, they have been put there by this system. It's like this system was carefully crafted to keep us down as Africans, and therefore the people who are elected, they are there to manage that underdevelopment, so-called sustainable underdevelopment. So I think this is something which President Museveni was talking about recently when he was in Nairobi at the World Bank organized summit, which was there, whereby the World Bank and the IMF, they are trying to convince Africans that they are better institutions, that they are not the same institutions which have been exploiting the African continent. But it looks like the system has given us leadership that is only trying to keep, or is maintaining, Africa's underdevelopment and not helping the continent to move forward. So these are the contradictions in the system, and it's a huge lesson, of course, to all of us. We have a situation whereby in the continent, we have had mostly the African intellectuals. They are the ones who always, jump around with these things, and they are always using big English, sustainability, SDGs. They are the ones who are always using these kind of words, Millennium Development Goals, Sustainable Development Goals. So I think that it is time for the same intellectuals on the African continent, and of course, even across the Atlantic in the black nations, to have some, introspection, to have some reflection on these things, to have some reflection on this system. Is this system really serving us? Okay, if it is serving, then we should keep it. But if we see it is not serving us, as it served us for the last 60 years, it has not served us for the last 60 years as Africans. This system has not served us. Our continent, this is not where our continent should be, considering the land we have, fertile land we have, the resources we have. Our continent, this is where we should be. This is not where it should be. When during the 60s, at independence, we were at the same level with countries like Singapore, almost at the same level with countries like China. This is not where our continent should be. So this, should force us to reflect. It should force the intellectuals on the continent to reflect instead of always jumping around and praising things, especially everything that comes from the West, because it is mostly the intellectuals who have enslaved the local person, the local citizen with this system, because they are the ones who are always commenting on this system. So they always say, oh, this is how we should run the democratic system. This democratic system is this. We are not practicing democracy. Well, but we know that this system does not work. It is not working for us. And besides that, the United States itself and the Western world, they were not built by these systems. These countries were built on slavery. So the countries which are forcing these systems on us were not built by these systems. They were built by slavery and colonialism. That's how they were built. They exploited us. They enslaved us. So I think that these realities have to be, put out there. These realities have to be reflected on. And if the system is not working for us, we have to agree that, it's not working. And agree with what the political scientist, Eric Lee out of China said, that the system has become that of elect and regret, because people elect, and in 6 months they are tired of the leader they have elected in 6 months. And for this case, the Ruto's case is 1 year, and people are tired of the president. So I think that it is time for the African intellectuals to reflect on this system and deliberate on it and come up with alternative for the African continent and to move the African continent forward. We have a lot of systems which existed on this continent, of leadership systems. We should be smart enough, I think, to come up with a new system to replace this Western system that is keeping us in this kind of slavery.
Yeah, so what do you think now? Just like that, out of my head, I'm asking you. So far, we have said enough, what the Western, how the West is now translating this, what's happening in Kenya. But if there is any country in Africa that should pay attention and might say, wow, okay, the people can do this, who are those? Name 3 African countries who will be watching this very carefully. And
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
not going to comment on it.
Yeah, definitely. I think that countries like Ghana right now, the president is really watching, because these are the people who have been jumping around the continent. They are telling us how democracy works. Even President Ruto himself, you saw that he was starting to take his gospel, his hypocritical gospel of how democracy is, and condemning Niger and stuff like that. So I think that countries like Ghana, where President Akufo-Addo also has been jumping around and telling us about democracy, when he cannot, stabilize the economy, the currency has depreciated hugely, huge depreciation. So by almost, 300%, the currency has depreciated by almost 300% under his watch. So you can see more than 300% actually since he came to power. So I think that Ghana will be watching. Another country I think that will be, seriously watching here would be South Africa. South Africa also would be, the leaders will be, because now they are like, okay, because they think that, oh, is our people watching what is happening in Kenya? Because our people, if they see what is happening in Kenya, they may do the same thing, to us over here. They may put pressure on us and make demands, because the people are watching what is happening over there. And Nigeria, of course, absolutely Nigeria. And Nigeria, if it happened in Nigeria, I think all the African continent would welcome it.
A
Because
bit
there's so
louder.
much.
You are covering your thing a bit. I really want this to get very clear. You are covering the
Yeah,
mic of your phone.
yeah. So I think that in places like Nigeria, it should be able to happen, and many of us as Africans, we would be happy because there's so much incompetence in Nigeria that is going on among the leadership, and yet there's so much potential in Nigeria. The Nigerian people are very hardworking people. There's so many resources. The Nigerian government cannot even command these oil corporations to give crude oil to Dangote, who built a refinery to save the country. I mean, the oil companies, they are the bosses in Nigeria. I mean, where have you seen this? These countries, these companies, these corporations were not elected. So how can they be more powerful in Nigeria more than the government which was elected by them? So there's so much incompetency. So I believe that Nigeria, if this kind of situation happened in Nigeria, South Africa, and Ghana, I think the rest of the continent would really feel very happy. And I know that the
I will
leaders
give
over
you
there are
two
watching.
more lists. Somebody is saying, what about DRC? Make it 5.
Yeah, absolutely. I think DRC also, I can think of DRC also.
Yeah.
I can think of it also. There's so much incompetence, I mean, in these countries. But what is really in Nigeria, the incompetence that's in Nigeria is really disturbing. Really, really disturbing.
So now finally to what we stick always, how we started it, and the basics of this platform, whether it's for Connect Africa or Africa Reimagined, which is also this stream, this program is also streaming through. What are the things? Pan-Africanism is where we come from, and that's our foundation. So now, what are the lessons in terms of organizing for Pan-Africanism? What can it take out of this?
I think that our ancestors, when they say that organize the people, when they were talking about organization, I think they were right. So the thing is about organizing the people, is about talking to the people, and then it has also shown us where power belongs to. So there is a need for Pan-Africanists to be consistent with our message. We have to be consistent and be firm with our message to be able to challenge this neoliberal system. We have to give alternatives, but more so, they have shown us where the power lies, and the power is, where it's going to be decided. What is going to decide the future of the continent is the young people. So we have, as Pan-Africanists now, I believe that we have been now shown where the power is and where we must, concentrate our work. The young people, we must concentrate, our energy there. And then we must give them the solutions, the modern solutions, the solutions which they are looking for. What are the modern solutions? Because these people, they want fast internet, they want, better jobs. These are the things which people, they
Sound
want.
call.
So I think, so these are the things I believe that we must talk about when we are talking to the youth. So we must talk about their needs. We must, reflect on their needs. We must emphasize their needs, not just to emphasize them, but to craft programs which are alternative to the neoliberal system, and these programs will be able to meet the needs of our people. So I believe that these are the lessons which Pan-Africanism can learn, that we have to mobilize consistently by reaching out to these young people, because they are the ones who are going to decide the future of the continent.
I know, Kwame, despite the challenge of internet, you are still here, and the people are definitely happy to have you. There's one question from Osie. Osie is our longtime audience here. Welcome, Osie. And he said, in brief, what is the future of Kenya? Tell us. Now, departing from what happened now, the demonstration, that Ruto conceding, what would be the future of Kenya?
Yeah, I was talking to one of the organizers, young organizers in Kenya, and he said that currently there's a gap, there's a vacuum in Kenya. There's a gap for a young revolutionary who can be able to articulate the Pan-African very well to arise. And actually, I agreed with him also, and I told him that this situation
Yeah.
articulate the predicament of the continent, the situation of the continent where we are. I think that we will be able to move forward. But I see that the continent is going to get, increasingly difficult to govern. It's going to get difficult to govern, and not because the people are difficult, but because the people have been suffering for a very long time, and these demagogic politicians have been coming around. Remember, I said that not all politicians are bad, but we have had those demagogic politicians coming around and saying one thing and then they do a different thing. Because Ruto said he's going to relieve people and give them some relief, and now he's instead punishing the people and putting more taxes on them. So there's a gap for a revolutionary Pan-Africanist leader and leaders to arise all over the continent. So I believe that the continent is not only Kenya, but even the whole continent, including South Africa and other countries, they are increasingly going to become, difficult to govern. And again, not because the people are difficult, but because of the hardship these incompetent heads of state have imposed on the people.
Yeah, very much. Thank you very much. I know what you are going through with that internet problem, but really, thank you. I will quickly, while I give you a break, and go through the comments. And if there's really anything urgent to reflect, you will. What? Once again, thank you very much for your kind donation. We appreciate that. Whatever happens, okay, child of God says, after you invite a vampire into your house is on you. You consented. Yeah. True. Yorubaland. Hi, Yorubaland. Welcome. So Kenyan military and police specialists have now shown us how they were trained to deal with unarmed civilians. I am now a bit worried about the true plan for Haitian civilians. Exactly, a headline for to make a short video was running in my head. They're sending on one hand the police, in the name of peacekeeping mission to Haiti, while you are killing with the same police your own people back home. I mean, how it cannot get more contradicting than that, what you're doing, and it's a time for you. Actually, this was a high time, a high reason for Ruto, if he has been at all contemplating this mission Haiti, that for him to stop it, really. But as we speak, it's, I think, last night, or I don't know, this morning, they have arrived, and here you are killing people. Very awkward, and really I don't know how he's sitting with that, Ruto. Ranking T, hello. Africa has to be real serious when it comes to the West, that's for sure. I mean, they don't take their lessons. What is the future? Okay, we have addressed that. Oh, Osia, President Hichilema of that. I hear you, definitely. Yeah. But I think, for some reasons, I talked to a couple of Zambian people, and I follow their social. They seem. It seems that the rest of Africa is more worried about. More worried means that see, what Hichilema is doing. The Zambian seems comfortable. I don't know, what made them like that. At least for my counter, maybe you guys have a different counter with the Zambian people. They seem more comfortable with what they have. But if I am mistaken, then I will be happy to be corrected. Child of God said, confessions of an economic hitman. Yeah, John Perkins. He explained their game back in 2004, the entire infrastructure that loots countries. At this point, anyone who participates is exposed. We said hello. Hi, OCS. So be here, share the video. Okay. Jimmy John said South Africa should definitely. That's what Kwame said. South Africa, Ghana, and Nigeria are the one as leaders who are paying attention what's happening in Kenya. But I would say also people, the ordinary citizen who are following what's happening in Kenya, and who are just on the edge to do the same. Well, yeah, but the end might not be that. That's why I say we should give it to Kenya. There's a certain level of freedom of expression. Trust me, it's not the same in all Africa. This could have ended very bad with the loss of many people, many people's lives. Palm Marshall said IMF starts are but never around to start. Oh, IMF starts fire but never around to put it out. Oh, thank you. That sums it up for our question: why the West is not saving Ruto. Okay, Osia said Kenyans are kind and respectful. Look what happened to former President Duo of Liberia, President Gbago's wife, Cote d'Ivoire. Yeah, never forget. Actually, I didn't understand that. So you mean what? Look what happened to Liberia. Okay, it happened worse. You mean? Ranking to never forget the West still never stop trying tricks. Yeah, definitely their life is dependent on Africa. So China is different because they removed their intellectuals because they realized they were all compromised. Haiti was this was because Wowo commented there was some. I think Haiti was a cover. They want him fight the Houthis. I don't think Haiti was a cover. I mean, they really wanted to sacrifice some African military there. The US and the West is tired of losing their military slide. Kat Dupre, US is tied to enough deserts in Gaza. They don't need same in Kenya. I would buy that. Yeah, that could be true. Yeah, so Yoruba Land was saying snipers deployed at parliament targeting unarmed civilians. Giturai massacre, unknown numbers, and more to emerge. They said 6. I don't know, yeah, if it is more. Do you guys know Ruto cut? Wow, I didn't know this. Imhotep, are you from Kenya? So Imhotep says, do you guys know Ruto cut many support for the orphans and elderly people and increased salary for members of parliament? Really? There must be something actually for them to agree immediately to lessen their salary. That means there is something that they have taken extra. That, at least that much I can say. This is Ruto. William shoot to kill. William shoot to kill Ruto has lost legitimacy. Okay, Yoruba just gave him a middle name. Who kills unarmed civilians and remains in office. Yeah, Greta Woodson, thank you all for being here, for all your support. I think we should call it a day. And thank you, Wowo, for all your support. Greta Woodson, Anton Delema, and others that I did not remember your name. Thank you, and for all of you also for giving us your time, for trusting us, for engaging here. That means a lot. Thank you. Oh, so you're Kenyan, but you live abroad in Imhotep. Okay, it's clear. Thank you. So, Kwame, unless you have some concluding matters, you have been hearing me reading the comments. If you want to come back, you can say, do you think Haiti is a cover? No, I don't think so. They really wanted to send African armies there.
Yeah, I think that the issue of Haiti is because they are hated. You see, for the last 200 years, the United States, since independence in 1805, the United States and the Europeans, France and Canada, they have been interfering in Haiti and how it conducts its affairs. And of course, this is due to the fact that Haiti is one of the few countries aside Ethiopia which uh, are run by blacks, which were able to defeat the whites. I mean, in hand combat. So Haiti defeated France, Britain and Spain combined, by just fighting them. So it's the same with the Ethiopia, which defeated, Italy and refused to be colonized. So Haiti, to some extent, has never been forgiven for this. So they have done everything they can to destabilize Haiti. So what I see is that, and the people who are backing this mostly is the United States. Even when you read some of the articles which came today, they say they deployed today. Kenya deployed today. It is today that they deployed the troops, and they say that the U.S. backed deployment. So it has now gone from the United Nations backed to the U.S. backed
Okay.
deployment. So they fear they have to do it. Yeah, they still want to, to retain control of Haiti in order to humiliate the African people there. But now what we are seeing is that they fear now to send their troops over there because they are hated. The white troops are hated. So it is not going to be looked at, kindly. So they see that, okay, we'll go to the continent and find people who look like them and then find somebody who is willing to sell out. And so they landed on Ruto, who's willing to do their bidding to do this job for them in Haiti. But basically, it is their desire to continue the control of the resources of the country, of course, and then to continue to humiliate the African people there, to show that the African people, they are not anything, they cannot do anything for themselves.
I was muted. Thank you very much, all of you, really, for being here, for giving your time, for engaging with us. We learn from you, and we try to be as informative as possible. So please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, Connect Africa, Africa Reimagined. Also, that's Kwame's channel. Go and subscribe. Give it a like, share the video if you find this video informative enough, which we believe so, but we give you the freedom to do so. And share the video. Don't keep the knowledge and the information to yourselves. Please, you can donate to our PayPal account to help us further. That will help us to be independent and be here more often, on hourly basis. Do you know how much things or how many things that we want to bring to you, and we are so limited? You have no idea. So please go ahead. Anything will help. And donate to our PayPal account and share the video. That will also help a lot. And tomorrow, we will be here briefly with Kwame. What do you want to ask Kwame about? Kwame wants, he will give us analysis about Julian Assange's release, and of course bringing, relating it to Africa, not just for nothing. How does it relate to what's happening in Africa? That's the topic. So if there is any question on this video, on one what we made now on Kenya, go ahead and drop your question, what you want Kwame to answer you with regards to that, Julian Assange, in addition to what he prepared for us, but also if he can look at your questions in advance. Kwame, that was it. Thank you. Ciao, ciao, I think. Let's say.
Thank you so much, and thank you everyone who was watching and supported the channel. And I thank anyone who contributed with their comments. And there's someone actually who contributed monetarily. We appreciate you. As Mahlet has said, if you support us in our PayPal account, then we will be able to be here more often and support the channel, also help it to grow, share it with others. It will help us to generate some income so that we can be able to broadcast and talk about these news more often. Because the problem is that the reason we have been subjugated in one way or the other is because our narrative is not put out there. No one is coming out to challenge this so-called Western narrative and false narrative, mostly which are false, about their system which they are imposing on the Africans, and it is not working for us. The system is not working for us. But the voices out there to challenge this system are not enough. There's not enough voices out there which are African to challenge this system that is destroying our continent. So we need these voices. We need Connect Africa. We need Africa Reimagine. We need Mahlet. We need me. We need you who is there. But we have to work together for us to push this narrative and, of course, to encourage other people who are pushing the African narrative. So your support is really, really important
Yeah.
if you are out there to this channel in either way, monetarily, through the PayPal account, and also if you invite other people to like the channel and support the channel, so that we can generate more income, and then Pan-Africanism also to be self-sustaining, instead of going around and having problems. So I think that is it for me today. Continue to support the channel, continue to support Pan-Africanism most
Yeah,
of all.
there is one question for you before you leave, Kwame. So, OCA dropped a question. What about the oil boom in Africa, like Senegal, Niger, and Namibia? It looks like I'm more focusing in my short briefs here at Connect Africa on the Sahel. So maybe you should do something, a longer analysis on that regards. I think that's the question. Yeah, other than that. Yeah, Ethiopia also
Absolutely.
discovered natural gas.
Yes.
Actually it's not now, but yeah, Kwame can add on his analysis. Ethiopia
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely. We'll come and comment on the energy industry, and I want us actually to talk about it briefly when we come to talk about a program on Dangote. We are bringing a program in which we are
Yeah,
going to comment on Dangote's recent comments, which he made when he was in Barbados at the Afrexim, Africa Import and Export Bank meetings, which happen, annually. So annual meetings, when he was in Barbados, he made some comments that he has been sabotaged by the Western international oil companies, and he made also these comments when he was in Kigali during the CEO African CEO forum, which happened in Kigali, Rwanda. So we want to look at the African energy, sector, African energy industry, and therefore we'll look at the oil, and we look at the oil boom in Senegal, Niger, and Namibia itself. But things are not very good in Namibia because up to now, 70% of the land in Namibia is controlled by Germany. So we still have these problems, and these problems definitely we have to confront them, and then we have to bring them to light because these colonialists, sometimes they hide and they do these things because no one is talking about them, no one is bringing them to light. But when you bring them to light, like what Dr. Arikana did, and she spoke about France, and then all of a sudden everyone is energized, and we saw wars happening, the removing of France. But you may never know, but it may have been the seed that Dr. Arikana Shombori planted because of talking about it. So it is very important. So we'll come and talk about these things, and we will show you the companies and the corporations which are exploiting Africa's energy resources, and they are retarding Africa, and they are pushing Africa down, and the countries attached to these companies. We are going to talk about all those companies when we are commenting about Dangote's $19 billion oil refinery. So for today, let us stop there. We will come back again tomorrow. Thank you so much.
okay, thank you. As we close, Kwame, for you to take a note, ramp up security ranking. T has suggested ramp up. It can be just a comment, but it could bye bye everyone. Thank you. Ciao.